In today's video, we are going to discuss that how you can make your own chat application by using Express and SocketIo. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand all the basic concepts of SocketIo, like checking for connection, checking for disconnection, checking for messages, checking for custom events, and I will discuss about how you can join rooms of different room IDs and how you can use broadcast.emit function. So that's all we are going to cover in this video. So without wasting any time, let's dive into this. Now, before making this project, I accept you all to just install the basic packages that we need to install to make this project. So first of all, we need the Express. As you all know, we are going to make our application by using Express. And then I expect you all to just install the Socket.io package. Now, after that's all done, you need to just go here in the index.js. And let me just tell you that you should also have one index.html file in your directory so that you can just make your chat application from here only. This is going to be the entry point web page. You can say the home page. Now let's start making the application. First, we need the Express. So let's make the Express by saying const Express to be required as Express. If you don't know what is the required function, let me tell you that required is used to just import up different kind of packages in Node.js. So const Express is equal to required, and we need to pass the name of the package that we want to import. So we want to import the Express. So we'll say const Express equal to required Express. After that, we are going to just import the HTTP here, because HTTP we are going to use to make our server. So let's say here require, we are going to do the same thing here, and at this point we are going to give the package name HTTP because we want to import that only. So let's say required HTTP, and this is having one class server, and that takes one parameter, your Express application. You need to pass your Express application here. So to make one Express application, you can easily see that Express, when we run the Express function, it says creates an Express application. The Express function is a top level function exported by the Express module. As you all understand this, by this message you can just make your own Express application by using Express function. Okay, so the next thing is to make one Express app in actual by using the variable, by using the Express function. We are going to store that application inside one variable app. Now let's listen at the port by using the HTTP. Let's say http.listen, and we are going to listen at port 8000, and we are going to run one callback function. Is that required? No, I don't think so. We are going to just listen to the 8000 port. Now we need the socket.io, so let's import that as well. So let's say const socket is equal to, or we can say io, const io, because that's like a famous name. Const io equal to require, and we are going to require the socket.io package that we just installed, socket.io. Now the next thing is to make one socket.io application. So when you require socket.io, you need to give one mode parameter here. You can say a parameter, or you can say some data as well, like the server on which the socket.io is made. So we are means we are just passing the server on which this application of socket.io as HTTP. Okay. After that, let's say app dot listen, not app dot listen, app dot get. We are going to check for parameters. So if we get the slash, means the home page of the website, then we can just pass up the basic parameters, as you all know, the request and the response. Let's say in the response we are going to send one file here, and the file is going to have one path, right? So let's say const path equal to required path. After that, let's go here and say path dot join, and path dot join underscore underscore den name with the index.html file name. Okay, let me see this. Now as you can see that, yeah, we just connected the index.html file and we are rendering to it to the server. Okay, let me just save this file and let's run it by using nodemon. And suppose in your case, if there is some error related to nodemon, that nodemon is not recognized as an external or internal file, you can just say npm I nodemon. It will install nodemon on your PC. So I already installed it, so there is no errors. So nodemon index.js. After that, let's go to port 8000. I can see cannot get slash is one error that we are getting here. So we are saying app.get slash, and in the response we are sending that file. But then also it's saying something like cannot get slash error. Okay. So as it was not working, I just used some different way of writing this code. Like I just initialized my app in only one variable, because I was just running the express function two times in the code. That's why I think the error was coming. So I just say like let app equal to required express, and we just run the function there only. Then we just say like where http equal to required http draw server, and we just passed our app. After that, we just say app.get slash. If we get the home page, we are going to send this file. Let's save this, and now let's go back. So you can see here is the index.html file. There is nothing there in the content because we did not give anything. Let's go here and say socket IO chat application. Now let's go here, and first of all we are going to take a look after two things. First is how we are going to generate one you can say one UUID, or you can say a random ID, because whenever we contact with anybody, then we need a room ID, specific room ID, right? So we need to generate that room ID so that we can communicate with each other. So for that room ID, we are having one library in Node.js that is known as UUID. So we are going to install that here, npm I UUID. I hope that is there. Yeah. Now let's go here and import that UUID, and let me show you what's the use of UUID. So let's take this const. There is a v4 engine, I think. Yeah, UUID v UUID, and is equal to require UUID. Right? I think that works. Let's go here and say console.log UUID. Let me just run the function. Let me just run my application. So you can see this is a random ID. Isn't that cool? Because you're just not doing any kind of stuff like generating a random ID by using some random function in JS and doing that's all. But you just directly get your random ID, and the application will not repeat the same ID more than one time. So this is one benefit of that. So we are having our own UUID. Now we need to just send this UUID to the client side. So what we can do, let's say IO dot, let's start making the backend. So IO dot on connection. If you see my videos, I just told there that if you use IO dot on connection, it means you are listening to the connection, right? And here you are having one socket parameter as well. Means we are checking for connection. If some connections come, so then we are going to pass socket here, and let's go here and say socket dot send, and let's send the UUID here. After that, we are going to check by the socket for messages, and if we get the message, we are going to just take that message and log into the console. And after that, we are going to say socket dot we are going to just check for disconnection. So let's say disconnect, and if we get disconnected, we are going to say console.log let's say user disconnected from the server. That's all fine. Now let's import the CDN link of SocketIo. As you all know, we need a CDN link here. So let's say CDN JS socket.io. Let's go. Yeah, let me just minimize some size. Okay, now let's go to the CDN JS. Yeah. Okay, let's copy the first link here. Let's go back. Not like this. Yeah, we need to import it by using the script tag. So script src, and we are going to just paste up this much of the thing. Now, after that's done, we are having our Socket.io in our application. Let's reload it. So we are having Socket.io chat application. If you just control U and then click on this link, you can see here the JS. Now let's check for the connection here. So let's go here and make one script tag and say let socket to be equal to IO, and let's say socket dot on. We are at this point also we are going to check for a connection only. I don't think so. We need to check here for connection. We are going to check for messages only. Let's say message or on message. We are going to check for message only. Let's take the message here in the parameter and say console.log msg. Let me just save this. Now, if I save this, reload it, I should get some data. And you can see here's the UUID that we send from our server side to the client side. So as you can see, this is how our SocketIo connection is made. Now the second task is to just try to make one functionality so that a user can join to a specific room ID. Now let's say let's make one input box and say room ID input. Now in this room ID input, we are going to say a text input. We are going to make one text input. And in this room ID, we are going to have one button as well. Dot join, a join button. Okay, let's say join. And in the placeholder, let's give something like placeholder, and let's say enter the room ID. Let me save that. Now after we just join to the server, means we need the room ID first. So let me just save this. The moment I reload, you can see enter the room ID. Input box is there. Now what we need is, let's say, okay, let's say a button. Let's take the button here. So join button. We are going to say join underscore button is equal to document.query selector dot join. And after that, we are going to take the input box here. So let's say document dot query selector dot. We are going to just take this input box for the class. After that, let's say join button dot add event listener click. We are going to say here whenever someone clicks on that button. Okay, so we are having this ID, right? So let us just say here whenever we get any kind of ID from the server, so we are going to say document dot write msg. Let me just save this. So let us see what we are going to get. We are going to get this thing, right? So let me say here body dot append child msg. Let's reload it now. So you can see here's like a node first parameter, not of type node. So we need to just make one div container here. Let's say let div underscore container is equal to, and in the div container, let's say document dot create element. We are going to create one element, because whenever anybody joins to any kind of room, so room ID, so first of all he needs the room ID, right? Our user needs one room ID, is his own room ID, so that he can join to his own room. So we need to just send him the room ID. So for that we are just creating one element, and inside that we are going to append his room ID, and we are going to display that room ID. After we display that room ID, he will copy that room ID and he will paste it in the enter the room ID text box, and then click on join button to join. Okay, so that's the idea here. Let's create one div element, and then we are going to say div container dot inner text to be equal to msg, and then we are going to append it. Let me save this, reload it. So you can see here's the ID. So we can just copy up this ID here, and we can just give it here and click on join button, right? Now what I want, if we click on this join button, then we want that we will be able to chat to our to other users. Okay, so let's say id is equal to input dot value. We are going to take the value from the input box. After that's done, we are going to say join button dot disabled. Let me tell you what the idea is in fact. So we are going to say disable to be true. Let me reload it. So we are going to just input this input. Let's click on join button. Now you can see it's disabled, right? So we are joined into that. And now what I want, when we click on this join button, we should see some input box here with some button here. So we can just chat with our with other users. Now let's go here and make one more input box, and let's give the class MSG, and then let's make one button here with the say, let's say the button class to be send MSG, and we are going to say send message. Let's save this. So let's reload it. Now you can see send a message input box is there. Let's give one BR tag so that we can just separate them both. Now we need to first join to the server, then we can just send the messages. Okay. So whenever someone clicks here, we are going to first disable the button so that we cannot just click on join button again and again. That seems to be like meaningless, right? So let's take this thing here first. Let's paste it here. You can join. Okay. Now we are going to just make one. Let's say we are going to just make one custom event on the client side so that we can emit it on the server side. And you know very well, we just made one join room event in the previous video. Let's say join. Let's do the same thing. Let's say socket.emit join room. We are going to pass the parameters here. First, only parameter we are going to pass is input.value parameter. That's it. Input.value parameter we are going to pass. Now, and with that, we need to give the user value, user ID as well. Let's say, let the user ID be user ID equal to prompt, and we are going to take a prompt from the user. Enter your name. Let's save this. After that, we just take one input from the user like enter your name, and we just pass that as an user ID. Let's pass the user ID in this join room event. After emitting that, we are going to say socket dot on. Let's say new user connected. Means we are going to do that's all on the server side, but first we are going to just complete the client side coding here. So let's say on the new user connected, we are going to have one user ID at that point as well. So user ID that we are going to receive from the server whenever some new user connect to the same room. Okay. Now this much of code is done. Now let's go on to the server side and say here when we make one connection, we are going to say for socket.on join room. If we get joined to the room, we are going to just access the data that we send from the client side to the server side by using the parameters. So first data was what? The room ID, right? Then the user ID was the second data. So let's say user ID and the second data. Now after that, we are going when we get the room ID and the user ID, we are going to say, now see it very carefully. We are going to say here socket not broadcast. We are going to broadcast the message that a new user just connected. Dot emit, and when we emit, we are going to just make one new custom event. User, let's say new user connected. New user connected, and we were firing that on the client side as you see right now. Means recently I just call that function, or you can say call that custom event on the client side. So we are going to make that custom event on the server side. Okay. Now in we are going to send one array, and that's going to contain not an array, I think so. Yeah, let's send one array and say user ID, or let's say ID user ID. Now what will happen? The only thing that will happen if a new person joins in our room, then what will happen, except the person who just joins recently, the rest of the people who were already there in that room will get the message that a new user joined with an ID of this. Okay, let's go to the index.html file, and let's go here and say let's say console.log user id dot id. Let's save this. Okay, so I hope this works. Let's just go back to the site and let's open some new instances. Let me just close these tabs as they are useless. Let me just copy up this and let me just open one more Microsoft Edge here, and let me just paste the same URL here, give some name Ayush. Okay, and then we are going to open one more instance. Suppose we just open one more and we just pass the same thing here and say Harsh, and we are going to reload this one as let's say Rohit, and that's all fine. Now we are having what, when we click on that button we are going to just send the input dot value and the user ID, right? Socket.broadcast.emit, we are just doing the same thing, right? User socket.broadcast.emit user ID of the same user only. Okay, let's just open these in 4 different ways. Let's go here first of all, let me just open my VS Code application on the side. Okay, like this. Then this first application something like this, and then this application something like this, and there is one more application, I guess. There it is. Let's take this application as well. Now we are having all these three applications. So let me just go to the console and let me just open each of them, their consoles. Now let me just give the basic ID. It means all of them are having different room IDs, right? So let me just copy one ID and we are going to just join the room by the first user. Then this by the same ID we are going to just make the second user also join. So if I click on join, you can see Rohit just joined the group. Isn't that amazing? Means like two people are joining with the same ID, and when the second person joined, it's saying Rohit just joined the room. Okay, and now if I just I'm the third, if the third person is joining with some different ID, okay, if he's joining with some different ID, okay, so if anybody is joining with a different ID, then also we are able to just see his name. So that is an issue that we need to just fixed. So for fixing that issue, what we can do here, we can just say like input dot, where is that, yeah, when we are broadcasting the message, so we can just say here input dot broadcast dot to, we are having one function dot to, and we are going to pass the room ID, means to that room ID only we are going to just emit the message. So room ID, only this room ID. Let me just go here, let me reload all of them. Let's give this one Harsh, let's give this one Ayush, let's give this one Rohit. Now let's copy this and let's this room ID and let's paste it here, join the room, and now let's do the same thing. Let's take the same ID, and by the same ID we are going to join in the second one. If I click on join, we are giving the same ID, right? There is no response on. Okay, so we are not receiving any kind of response on even each of them. So we are not receiving a single response. We are just saying input dot value, right? And we are just passing the user ID here. User disconnect from the server. What's happening in fact? Let's go here. Okay, let me just reload the server first. Let me just reload the server. Okay, now let me just go back. Let me just reload of all of them. And this time let me give A, H, and R. Let me just copy up the first room ID and I'm going to join this user by using this user by using this. But we are not receiving any kind of console message at this point. Okay, so I just got to know that we just missed one thing, and that was the join function. So whenever we receive any kind of room ID, we need to first join to that room, right? Isn't that So we need to just join to that room first, then only we can just send messages. Okay, so first we join to that room by using the socket. Now it's all fine. Let's input the first one. Let's go here and say in the first one as Harsh. Wait a while, never mind. Let's go on the second. Okay, let's reload it first. Let's say Harsh. Now let's go here and say Ayush. Here also the same issue. I think some load time issue. And here the Rohit. Now let me just copy this room ID. Let me just paste this room ID. Let me click on join. On the second one, join. And the moment I click on join, I should receive some message here that Ayush just joined here. So let me just click on join and you can see Ayush. Now if I just give some different ID to the third user and then I join, then I will not receive any message, as you all can see. So we just established a connection between different rooms, separation of rooms. We just did that, all done. Now what we need to do, now the next thing is we are joining to that room, right? So after we join to that room, we are having, let's say, socket dot emit. We are going to say socket dot emit, not right now. Let's say, let's go here and now let's check for messages, right? Let's check for messages. Now we are having this send a message. So let's take the send message button. So let's say send msg underscore button is equal to document dot query selector dot send msg, and let's go down. Let's say send msg button dot add event listener. We click on that button. Then what we are going to take, we are going to take the input here. So let's take the input to be document dot query selector and dot, let's take this msg class dot value. Okay, so this thing we are going to do. Then we are going to say socket dot emit, and we are going to make one more custom event, and we are going to say send msg. This is going to be the event, and we are going to pass the data as the input. Okay, so we are going to pass the input as an data. Now this input as an data, and with that we need to give the room ID as well, isn't that? We need to give that room ID. No, no, after we just click on the join button, then only we want to add one event listener to that button, because unless or until we just click on that join button, we are not joined to a specific room. And until and only we are not joined to a specific room, we should not be able to send any kind of messages to anybody, because to whom we will be sending any kind of message. We need to just we need to just enter any kind of room, so that we can just send messages to all the other users who are present in that specific room. So first of all, we need to join to that room, then we are going to set one add event listener, and we are going to take the input and send that by using a custom event send msg to the server. Okay, I hope that's all clear to you all. Now let's check here for socket dot on get msg. We are going to make that on the server side, socket dot get msg, and in that we are going to have an msg, the message, in short msg, or you can say message in long form. Now msg we are having. Now what we need to say a document dot body dot append child, and then we are going to say in that, with the message we need the username as well. I think we should have that facility like user id, right? So let's say user id and user id colon. If you see user id colon, that makes some sense that this user has sent this message. So we are going to then pass the message. Let's save this. Now let's go to the index.js, and after we get joined, we are going to say socket dot on, and then we are going to check for send msg. On send msg, we are going to have one msg, means real message. We are going to have that from the server. Okay, we are going to have the message. Now after we receive any message, then what we are going to do, we are going to say socket dot broadcast dot to the specific room ID, we are going to emit, let's say, get msg. We are going to emit that, right? Get msg, and then we are going to simply say here we are saying user ID and message, right? So let's send them ID, comma, ID, comma, ID to be like the user ID, comma, the message msg to be the msg. Okay, I hope that's clear to you all. We are sending the msg. Okay, so let's take a single parameter, let's say data, and let's say data dot user ID and data dot msg. And it's not user ID, it's ID only, it's not user ID. So that's all done. I hope that works. Let's save this. I hope that works. Let's go back, let's reload it, let's say Harsh, let's go here, say Ayush, let's go here and say Rohit. Now let's copy this room ID and join to that room. Let's click on join. Let's go here, click on join. So you can say I use just joined. Let's send some message. Send a message. We are not receiving anything. We are sending messages from here, but we are not receiving it here. So we are just click on send a message, right? Send message. Let's go here and inspect it. So what is that ID? Send msg, right? Okay, so we are having this input box. After that, we are just having this button, send msg, right? We are just taking the same thing here as well. Are we grabbing that button first on the client side? Dot send msg, and then we are taking the input box to be the document.querySelector.msg, the input box dot value, and then we are just emitting this, sending this. So the only issue was that that we need to just set this socket on get msg out of this add event list. Now because we were just clicking on that button, then we were just checking globally for any message to come to the client side, then we are going to append that, right? So we have just done everything correctly. Now let's say id to be like, okay, let's get the id here first on the server side. I think that's all done. I just checked that out. And one more thing that you should connect socket.join. You need to run this function socket.join again when you just check for send msg. Okay, so let's save this, and the moment I save this, I go back and I just reload on all of them. Let's say Ayush, let's go here, say Harsh, and let's go on to the third one and say Rohit. Let's go here and copy this room id and let me just paste it here. Join the same id here, join. You can say Harsh just joined. Now let's go here, say hi. Let's click on send msg. Now you can see this user ID has just sent hi. Okay, you can just replace it with that what we were having there. We were having something fancy, right? We just have user ID. Let me just do that. So now you will be able to see the names instead of that UUID. Let's reload that Harsh. And let me just close the third instance. That does not make any sense. I will just show you. So let me just go here and paste this room ID. Join, join. Here's the message. Let's go here. Hi, and boom, you can see Ayush send hi. And if I just join by any other here, or if suppose if I join by the same thing, if I just click on join, you can see Rohit just joined on both of them, and now Rohit can also send a messages. If I click on send a message, Rohit hi, and Ayush also send hi. Okay, so this is how we can just say whenever we uh, means you can just make one socket.io real-time chat application by using this method. Okay, so yeah, this is how you can just make your own real-time chat application by using socket.io. So yeah guys, that's all for this video. Meet you in the next video with some new built-in technology. Till then, see you.